Thank you so much, Tom, and all your wonderful speakers. So let's now proceed to panel number 2, from artefacts to algorithms, technical solutions for cultural property protection online. Ladies and gentlemen, we are living in a time when the digital revolution is transforming every corner of our lives, including the ways in which cultural heritage is preserved, accessed, and regrettably trafficked. The same technologies that open new pathways for education and cultural exchange are also being exploited to facilitate the illegal trade of cultural property. Online marketplaces, encrypted communication channels, and social media platforms have become new front lines in this global issue. We need to meet digital threats with digital solutions, and that is exactly what this session is about. Today's panel brings us to the cutting edge of innovation across sectors and regions. Technological tools are being deployed to identify, track, and intercept the online circulation of looted and trafficked cultural property. Artificial intelligence is being used to verify provenance. Blockchain as well as nuclear techniques are also being used for that purpose. Open source intelligence is being tapped to monitor suspicious activity in real time. These are not theoretical ideas. They are real-world tools already being developed and applied by national authorities, international bodies, NGOs, and tech companies alike. This session will explore how these technologies are reshaping the response to illicit trafficking online. We'll hear about concrete cases and tools in action, as well as how they are being designed to bridge the digital spaces and physical investigations. But innovation is not without its complications. Technology can amplify our efforts, but it must be designed and used responsibly, with human judgment at the core. Access to technology must be inclusive. From local museums to border agencies in high-risk regions, all actors must be empowered to use and trust these systems. Interoperability, transparency, and long-term investment in capacity building are not just technical needs, they are essential commitments to equity and effectiveness. To succeed, we need digital platforms, government, civil society, and innovators to work together, building systems that are smart, ethical, and adaptable to a rapidly evolving digital landscape. So with this in mind, let's all dive now into the technologies that are reshaping how we protect the past. And let me call now and welcome our next lineup of experts for this discussion. First, Mrs. Zeynep Boz, head of the Illicit Trafficking Department at the Ministry of Culture and Tourism of Turkey. A big round of applause for Mrs. Boz. Let's also welcome Major Salvatore Rapicavoli, Head of Data Processing Unit at the Carabinieri Command for the Protection of Cultural Heritage in Italy. Welcome, Major. Let's welcome Mrs. Delphine Doba-Pontanas, Director of Legal Counsel at the Global Regulatory Unit at eBay. Next to join us on stage, we have Ms. Alice Simon, Accelerator Specialist at the International Atomic Energy Agency. Welcome, Alice. And last but certainly not least, let's all welcome Mr. Stephen Mora, Regional Attaché at the Homeland Security Investigations at the International Operations, United States of America. Welcome, Mr. Mora. So as in the previous panel, we'll start with introducing two concrete practices, digital tools in this case. Welcome, Mr. Mora. We have a fantastic lineup here. Thank you for being with us. And let's begin with you, Zeynep. So Zeynep, you are the head of the Illicit Trafficking Department at the Ministry of Culture and Tourism in Turkey. You are an archaeologist by education. In 2014 and 2015, you were appointed as the focal point of UNESCO to the UN Security Council for the implementation of paragraphs 15 to 17 of Resolution 2199. You are also the author of Fighting the Illicit Trafficking of Cultural Property, a toolkit for European judiciary and law enforcement. Thank you for being with us. I'll start by asking you, you are involved in the development of an artificial intelligence tool aimed at monitoring the online trafficking of Turkish cultural property. So could you please tell us a little bit about this tool? How does it detect suspicious online activity? When will it be operational? And in your view, what is the potential impact of integrating such digital tools into the fight against illicit trafficking?
First of all, thank you very much for inviting me to this very prestigious and exciting initiative. It's always an honor addressing colleagues from this course, so thank you very much. And it will be a little difficult to speak by the side of Major Salvatore Repicavoli when it comes to his expertise, but I am sure that he will be forgiving my technical mistakes as I talk about the matter. So, as very kindly mentioned, I work for the Ministry of Culture and Tourism of the Republic of Turkey and as the head of combating illicit trafficking department. And I have been working for the ministry for 18 years. And during that time, we realized that we are having a problem of monitoring online auctions or online sales of any sort. Because all the burden is always on the shoulders of you if you're a source country, because then you will be always asked, why you haven't seen earlier? It was sold on that auction house 3 years ago. Why were you to react by then? So that's why we had to find the answer to work on that. If I may have the presentation, that would be lovely. Perfect, thank you. So now we have this technology called TraceArt. And TraceArt is a data discovery platform that filters, that scans very exclusive, let's say, massive data, and it is specifically customized for the cultural heritage. So let's have a quick look how it works. We can go for the next slide, please. You see this ordinary auction house, let's say, when you go and try to monitor it, you will end up in the red circle, you see 3,137 lots. So just imagine an expert going in front of his or her screen and trying to go one by one from all lots. It is a very difficult process. And for the human resources aspect, it's not even possible. That's why, in order to ease the work, we can go to the next slide, please. And I would appreciate if you can start the video already. So we had this TraceArt, thank you very much, which scans the websites of online platforms based on the word groups that we introduced to the program. So there are some, of course, we were a little bit creative while doing that. We didn't use only the usual words like Anatolia. Anatolia is the ancient term that you would use for identifying Turkey. Its current territory, most of its current territory. And the system goes and detects the object. It brings it in front of the expert sees the object, and in order to review it, that can be sent to another expert, let's say in a museum in faraway town of Turkey, would receive the image with all the information and the lot in a second. So that's how we kind of accelerated our efforts, and I believe our success in identifying cultural heritage available online. We can move for the next slide. Thank you very much. And we can also start the video, please. And this one is, this part of the program is also very important, because as we are increasing our efforts, our colleagues, some of our colleagues, so I don't want to provoke any of the participants, but some of our colleagues from the market also accelerate their efforts by opening the catalogs to the public at a very late stage in order to disable you to take quick action. So earlier it was at least 1 month before the sale, you would see the catalogs online, but nowadays it's in some of the sites 3 days, 5 days, but it's okay. We are also doing our best to keep up with the rhythm that they would like to change. We are here also to fight with this challenge. So it's fine. And can we have the next slide, please? Okay, let's do not start the video at the moment. So now I'm going to show you a very short roll-up of a YouTube page that this is a result of a YouTube research, and I only type how to find treasure in Turkish. Here on the bar, you see define bulma, it means finding treasure. You will see, you can start the video, please. Thank you very much. You see there are numerous videos. As some of us are archaeologists, you already understand that most of them are fake and generated images, as you were referring to earlier. But so why it should be a concern for me as a person who has to combat against illicit trafficking? These are not real, right? But it is not the case. Because this kind of videos increases the worst understanding, which is it is totally normal to go and do illegal excavations for adventure. If we find treasures, great. And these people are being victims of fraud at the same time. And the next video, please, the next slide, please. You can start it. Here we can have it, please. Thank you very much. Here you see it blurred because you are looking at corpse of people. I'm very sorry for this provocative image, but the luxurious goods that we have seen in the first slides are coming from dead bodies of people. They died during doing illicit excavations. So that's really what we are fighting against. That's why we are each year more and more ambitious and brave. That is the reason. So this is security of people, obviously, security of population, obviously, protection of cultural heritage, and also preventing generating income for other organized crimes that directly aims at people's life and human life. And our AI-based tool also deals with such kind of digital platforms. YouTube was just as an example here. There are several other video platforms, and we are also using algorithms to detect these videos and to go and complain to the prosecutor for further investigation and pulling down of the video from these sites. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Zeynep, for such a compelling presentation. So let's now turn to the next example, which comes from the Italian Carabinieri Command for the Protection of Cultural Heritage. And to introduce the next tool, let's welcome Major Salvatore Rapicavoli, who works at the Comando Carabinieri for the Protection of Cultural Heritage. He is the head of the Data Processing Unit and project manager of the SWODS, that stands for Stolen Works of Harm Detection System Projects. Welcome. I would first like to ask you, Major, the Carabinieri TPC has always been at the forefront of innovation, having developed and participated in different projects on digital tools for cultural heritage protection. So please, can you tell us about your most recent digital tool called SWODS, and how does it detect and prevent illicit sales of cultural property on the web? Can you also tell us how the system is evolving and what opportunities and or challenges this brings?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. I would like to, if it is possible with the slides, I would like to introduce my system, speaking about the difficulties that we have to deal with every day. Of course, as well as you know, we have the largest database in the world in this sector. Because we have a huge amount of data, not only about the stolen works of art, because we have more than 1,300,000 objects to be recovered in our database, but we also have more than 7 million objects described in our system because of all the activities that we deal with for the protection of the cultural heritage in Italy, and not only in Italy, because other countries often ask us to store their own stolen works of art in our database. So for this reason, we always have to look for these objects, above all on the internet, because as well as you know, everything is on sale on the web at the moment. And it was not possible to do it in the traditional ways, as well as we have done during the past several decades in traditional ways. It takes a lot of time to look for specific objects in the database, and I thought, as a technician, it was necessary to develop a tool according to the needs that we know as a law enforcement agencies for other law enforcement agencies too. This is the reason why we wanted something able to monitor in place of the human operators, all the channels, telematic channels, where we know we could find something. It means that we want to look for objects in the auction houses' websites and art dealers' websites, e-commerce websites and marketplaces, but also on the social, like Facebook, Instagram, or whatever, and even in the dark web. We want to check everything it is possible. Next slide, please. So we wanted to create a tool operating massively this kind of activity in place of the human operators, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, scraping all the pictures and the textual information from the targets that we set on the platform. So it means that if I want to check a specific auction house website, I set it as a target, I set this job. SWATs will know that it has to scrape all information coming from this website, from this specific URL, and will collect all this information in order to analyze all the pictures and the textual information for comparing all this collection against our database in order to find something that is stolen. Next slide, please. So we have this phase of crawling where we can both look for objects on open websites, but not only, we can also give PDF files to our system. In this case, it is able to scrape information directly from the PDF file. Just think about catalogs that we often have, because it happens that they send us catalogs. But we want to also use the dark web for looking for some specific investigations, tips that could help us for specific investigation. Of course, in the dark web, we do not operate with the pictures, but only with the textual information, because we do not need all the pictures contained in the dark web. We use artificial intelligence in the second phase after we have collected everything, because we want to analyze both pictures, compare them against the database and the textual information. Here, the artificial intelligence we are using, of course, it was planned several years ago. We didn't have any idea about the actual artificial intelligence. For this reason, with evolution, we are going to change something. After the analysis process, we will have a proposal coming from the system. This proposal have to be validated by the human operators at the end. So we can have a positive, possible positive matches, or maybe real positive matches. If it is a false positive match, we will tell the system to do not propose it again. So we do not have to work on the same proposals ever and ever. Next slide, please. Just to give you some examples, it is very important to underline that during less than 2 years now, we have recovered more than 200 works of art with the support of SWODs. Above all, we are speaking about cases that were not so easy to be identified by the human operators. You can see these are really few examples where we have been able to use SWODs for the recognition of a part of a whole painting, the first example. It is really good also for recognizing painting when we have original pictures with spot of lights or like the second examples that make it not too easy to identify the painting, or the third example where you can see the poor quality of the pictures that we received during the course of the theft. The last example is very important because you can see it was modified. There was a lamp. This is a painting with the subject of Santa Agnese. It was modified, trying to let not recognize it. There is a paper, not the lamp. Other details were changed. Anyhow, SWOT was able to recognize it. We are making the evolution of the system, so we will be able not only to recover stolen objects, but we will be able to recognize illegal excavated objects, counterfeited objects, or objects described in the red list of icons, and we want also to analyze video sources, not only pictures. So we are working on it, and we are doing a good job, I think. Thank you.
Thank you. Definitely sounds like you are doing a good job. Thank you very much, Major Picavoli. So let's now shift to a scientific perspective with you, Miss Alice Simon. Miss Alice Simon holds a PhD in applied nuclear physics. She is an accelerator specialist at the International Atomic Energy Agency based in Vienna. She plays a lead role in international cooperation on the development of accelerator-based analytical techniques and their application in heritage, forensic materials, and biomedical sciences. Her work promotes the exchange of scientific results and fosters collaboration among research institutes, universities, museums, law enforcement actors, and international organizations. Welcome, Elise. So UNESCO has a long-term cooperation with the IAEA, including now in the cultural sector. You are a nuclear physicist and work with nuclear techniques. So I'd like to ask you, what role can nuclear technologies play in verifying the provenance and authenticity of cultural property?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues. And first of all, I would like to acknowledge this great opportunity to be here and share our views, results, and challenges with you, and to get your feedback as well, and within a collaboration with UNESCO. Thank you. I also have a slide, short slide, just to mention that, as you understand, the International Atomic Energy Agency is a member of the United Nations. Our main mandate is to foster the peaceful uses of nuclear technologies. And you hear about us a lot, especially in these days as well, in the press. But actually, we are working in several fields, and I am coming from the nuclear analytical point of view. And we have a major program in the field of applying nuclear techniques for the preservation of cultural heritage. On the slide, you can see our four main pillars of our work. I'm not going to speak about them now. I'm sorry, we don't have time. But we have one pillar also, which is identification of fake and looted artifacts. And I am going to refer to Mr. Michel's talk, who mentioned research and science as part of this biggest fighting illicit trafficking of heritage objects. And I'm going to speak a little bit about what we are doing in this field. Next slide, please. So nuclear analytical techniques are very versatile tools, and I am not going to give one by one what we can do, but you can see, for example, in case of paintings were seized by the French special police forces, and our colleagues were us to identify whether they are original paintings or not. They applied radiocarbon dating, X-ray to mass spectrometry radiocarbon dating, which allowed them to identify when the paintings were made. And it was conclusive that the paintings, they couldn't analyze all, but the ones they analyzed, they were fakes. You can see also on the bottom left a bacterian figurine. And actually, this was identified also or analyzed with another technique when the composition of lapis lazuli and its origin was identified. It came from Afghanistan, an Afghan mine, and the object itself was identified as original one, a genuine one. However, during the analysis, my colleagues could find some trace of mortar, some trace of cement, and trace of silicone tapes on the figurine, which indicated that this figurine was subject to illicit trade. We can also identify the trace elements from excavations which remaining as soil on the figurines as well, or we can identify the composition of coins, and we can look underneath the top layer. So if the coin is like a copper, a coin just with a gold layer, we can identify as well without damaging it. There are a lot of requests to my colleagues from law enforcement regarding ivory objects, also identifying ivory and also their date, defining whether it is from legal or illegal trade. And I also would like to mention, because we are talking about objects and what we are trying to identify, and there was a question in the previous panel, which are the objects we are talking about. So we are, with our techniques, are analyzing the objects, but it's also very important to note that the certificates, because the certificates can be also fake. And with our techniques, we can also identify whether they are fake or original ones. So these are just highlights, and we do more, but I hope that this is interesting enough for you to understand what we can deliver in the digital world. Next slide, please, because, of course, there are also challenges. And we heard our panelists about their fantastic tools and digital tools and having tons of images, pictures. And we would like to know what is our role in the digital era, because we believe that our techniques are very valuable. However, our techniques are not cheap, they require time, and we cannot do, several thousands of analyses. So it's not quick, not cheap process. Is there any role for us in the future? We also have another consideration, because our partners are mainly public institutes, and they are functioning on public money. So they are obliged to share the results with the public within the open science approach. But how can we share the paint recipes, for example? So what is the limitation not to support the criminal activities in the future? So we have some dilemma in this case. We also make images. I didn't show them, but we do elemental images during the analysis. So as we heard, that there could be fake images, photos, fake photos as well. Is there any role for us to input these images, integrate with your databases? And there could be some interoperability questions as well, but we are very much interested in to learn. And of course, which are the future trends in fighting illicit trafficking? Because we also want to understand how to develop our techniques, and of course, how to interpret the data for law enforcement actors as well. So thank you very much. We are looking forward to our collaboration with the member states, with UNESCO for the future, and I hope that we can do better and we can be more efficient to fight illicit trafficking together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alice. So building on that, let's now hear from Stephen Mora, Regional Attaché at the United States of America's Homeland Security Investigations International Operations Department. Stephen has worked in international operations since 20 12 on a range of investigations. He created the HSI offices in Ankara and Istanbul during his first tour in Turkey from 2017 to 2022, later overseeing HSI's international presence in Central and South America. He currently oversees HSI's operations in Turkey, the Caucasus, and Central Asia. Stephen, welcome. Can you please tell us how does Homeland Security Investigations carry out transborder investigations to fight online illicit trafficking, and also what kind of challenges do you face?
Well, good afternoon, and thank you again for the opportunity to be here with everybody, esteemed colleagues, and it's an honor and a privilege to be in this room with everybody. And I'd also like to thank everybody for allowing me the next 3.5 hours to squeeze in everything I can in 4 slides. So, how do we? We can start off with the slides. So basically, what HSI does, Homeland Security Investigation does, is we receive a lot of leads from our partners and other agencies. So when we start looking at the techniques and strategies to fight online illicit trafficking, we look at not just the leads that we receive, but also online undercover activity, open source research. We have a lot of undercover platforms that focus on dark web and online forums. What I did on our slides was just give you a quick synopsis of kind of like what an investigator looks like. You know, when we're looking at smuggling techniques and strategies, we're looking at false documentation. Specifically, what Homeland looks at is illicit trade, travel, finance. We're the original, if you will, cross-border crimes agency focusing on transnational organized crime. HSI assesses that the majority of everything you see that involves looting artifacts, there's nothing new under the sun, whether it's any type of crime, it's all tied to transnational organized crime. This is a $5 trillion a year business, and it's not done because somebody wants to do it out of the goodness of their hearts. This is all done for profits, from everybody who's digging up the stuff to the people that are passing it off and smuggling it across the border, to concealment within commodities, textiles, to the people that put it on online auction houses. So we look at everything from false documentation, customs fraud, the smuggling, and we want people to understand that these aren't just violations of UNESCO, because crime is crime. It's just a lot of times prosecutors will get hung up on how do we prove this? How do we prove that? The reality is like it's still smuggling, it's still theft, and all of these things. In many cases, it's money laundering and tax evasion, trade-based money laundering. If you're carrying art through the airport, you still have to declare a value, but there's no value on it until it's monetized. So again, we talk about that. Legal loopholes. You can actually, legal loopholes, sorry about that. You can go to the next slide. And again, these are just, like the online platforms. What I want to focus on with the online platforms, what's difficult, some of the challenges that we face are that the stats are unreliable. We actually went through and looked at everything that we had, along with other collaterals that we had from different countries. And what makes the stats unreliable is that a lot of times that the pieces that are being sold online are counterfeit. So what ends up happening is that the platform will remove that immediately, and you actually don't have a case. So how do you quantify that? It's a lead that turned into nothing. Influencers, like Zainab pointed out, there's a lot of people that will, basically encourage people to walk around, to go loot, to try to do these things. And what we've done is we've just simply contacted Google, Instagram, and just said, hey, we label this as you are inciting, you are coercing people to commit criminal activity. And they listen and they pull it off. So again, just tools to think about. Next slide. Challenges and the process. We talk about adaptability and flexibility. The reality is that we depend so much on you. And if you take away nothing else from this forum and this discussion, is that we look to you for the leads. We don't know what we don't know. One of the challenges that we face is just timeliness, notifications. We can act on stuff and put records, we can put alerts, we can notify our partners. We've got 99 offices in 57 different countries, along with all the domestic offices, and we literally can flag cargo, container, travelers, all of that globally through our networks. And we're willing to do that on behalf of any country. Literally, like, let us know, I can put you in touch with the attaché covering that country, or reach out to me, we'll find a way to get this done. But the biggest thing that we look at is our partnerships with you. We can't do anything that we do without you in that network. It's like the director said earlier, it takes a network to combat another network. And last slide. One more slide. Okay, I think that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Let's now turn to you, Mrs. Delphine Doba-Pantanas. Delphine is Director of Legal Counsel of Global Regulatory at eBay. She studied law at the University of Paris Sorbonne and at the University of Pennsylvania Carey Law School, and previously worked in legal and compliance roles for international banks and law firms. Bienvenue, Delphine. I'd like to ask you, eBay is one of the international platforms with a global reach. Can you please tell us about the challenges of moderating listings that involve cultural property as opposed to other kinds of items? And what type of digital tools or monitoring systems do you have in place to prevent illegal listings?
Merci Anne-Marie. Good afternoon, Excellencies, experts. I would like to thank UNESCO for inviting eBay. We are very happy to be part of that panel. Answering to your questions, I would like to present briefly. Oh, there's a glitch. Before answering to your question, I would like to present briefly eBay and the way we are working. So actually, eBay is a pure third-party online marketplace, which means that we do not sell any items on the platform. We do not own the product. We are just a platform that facilitates a way for consumers and businesses to transact in a confidence way. So I think this is something important to keep in mind, because obviously there's an impact on the way we are going to work in the area of cultural goods and how we support to help to fight against the illicit trafficking of cultural goods on the site. So our approach is very much based on. It seems that it's not working properly. So our approach is very much based on 3 pillars, which is education, enforcement, and cooperation. This is something very important for us, and maybe we can start with the presentation. Yeah, thank you very much. Education, enforcement, and cooperation. This is very important for us because we think that those 3 pillars are very, very well articulated. They cannot work without the other ones. For instance, we cannot enforce if we do not have the cooperation with experts and authorities, for instance. When it comes to the education, so we do have an artifact policy on the site. This policy is very much helping our users to understand what can be sold, what cannot be sold on the site. We are helping them to understand, the rules around the notion of cultural property, cultural goods. I think it's a lot of, definitions around that. So we need to inform them about that. So we are referring to different regulations in the country where the seller wants to sell a product, for instance. That's why in each policy, so for instance, we take the example of eBay UK, eBay US, or eBay France, or all the countries where we are, we have adjusted the policy to ensure that we can reflect the relevant regulations that govern the relevant country, actually. So, for instance, we have the UK Treasure Act, we have the US Native American Artifacts, etc. So it's very important for us to put a lot of efforts in educating our users. We have also many different links to relevant international organizations. And by the way, we've been working and cooperating with those organizations. UNESCO, of course. We have also included the International Council of Museum Red List, a very important database. We have included the Interpol ID Art mobile app, a very interesting tool for anyone, but also the cultural heritage crime section of the Interpol website. So this is all this information and intelligence that we have under our policy to ensure that our users can be familiar with all these concepts. So this is first the education. Then we have the enforcement, very important for us to enforce our policies. Enforcement will be based on different measures that we have in place. We have like a filter, so algorithm that will block a listing, or an algorithm that will flag a listing that will be reviewed by an agent, for instance. But we also have image recognition, or AI as well. AI in the actually, we have acquired a company called 3PM, and this company, is dedicated in artificial intelligence. So we are using as well this company to help us enforcing our policy. We also have a range of sanctions that we use to not only to remove a listing, but also to sanction a seller, for instance, someone who is a repeating offender, for instance. So we will take action on the seller's account. And we also remove listings, because there's the block approach, like via algorithm. Those ones are very much based on keywords, but we also have the possibility to remove listings upon reports. So, for instance, we have the regulatory portal that is dedicated to authorities. So authorities will report listings offering a product or an item that is not legal, and then this listing will be removed automatically. So this is the interest of this portal. But we also have the law enforcement portal, which is dedicated to law enforcement agency within their investigation. So this is briefly the enforcement. I'm trying, it seems that I need to speed up a bit. Then we have the third pillar, very essential for us, the cooperation, and this is linked to our business model, what I was mentioning previously, in the fact that we don't have the item in our hands. We do have a long track record of, this is the next slide, please. Excuse me. We have a long track record of close cooperation with various authorities and NGOs. We partner with different experts. So I have already mentioned UNESCO, academics, archaeologists as well, embassies as well. And we have a couple of interesting cooperation or successful collaboration in that regard. So I may take the example of the Roman Germanic Museum of Cologne. So back then, the museum reported to us a cuneiform tablet that was on eBay Germany. So we decided to directly contact the German Federal Criminal Police, who then worked with Interpol Bern, because actually the seller was in Switzerland. And what happened is that the authorities in Bern could show up at the seller apartment or place, and then we could, get the cuneiform tablets back. And I want to mention that everything happened in one day. So I think this is just an example of a very interesting cooperation. When it works very smoothly with a nice synergy, I think it could give this type of example. We also have other cooperation, but it seems that I have no time
No,
to
actually,
move forward.
let's, in a couple of minutes, talking about the importance of collaboration, which has been stressed since the beginning of our event. Can you briefly tell us, what opportunities do you see actually for closer collaboration, this time between e-commerce platforms, national authorities, and international organizations to collectively prevent the trafficking of cultural property?
Yeah. So I think what is very important is that this cooperation brings any kind of stakeholders. We need to understand, for instance, what is a cultural good, because we do have definitions of cultural goods out there, but it seems that there are a gap, a kind of fragmented interpretation of cultural goods at an international level. But I think that what we could consider as an interesting cooperation at an international level would be, for instance, what has been set up in the area of wildlife trafficking. There's let me check. This is so we are part of the coalition to fight against wildlife trafficking, and they do have a cyber spotter program out there, and this program is actually a way for volunteers to be trained in the area of wildlife trafficking, and those volunteers will spot and report, for instance, listings on any platform, because obviously there are many online marketplaces that are part of that of the coalition, and then this cyber spotter program. And I think it would be very interesting to consider this type of cyber spotter program in the area of cultural goods, especially that's because sometimes there's a nexus between wildlife trafficking and cultural goods. I have an example like the netsuke in ivory. You know that this is coming from the Japanese tradition. So netsuke that are made in ivory, that could be an interesting piece to cover the two fields, actually, wildlife trafficking and the cultural goods trafficking. And there's also another thing that I'm thinking about, and I think this has been already mentioned previously in the former panel, is under the European Digital Services Act, there's an obligation for online marketplaces and online platforms to work with trusted flaggers. And this status is a status that is given by the European Commission based on criteria like, this entity, so this is very much for entities, those entities do have a knowledge, an expertise in the area, for instance, of cultural goods, so that they can report directly to the online platform, and then the report will be treated in priority. That could be something that could be considered for any kind of online platforms, for instance.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Let's go back to you now, Stephen. In your view, what is the biggest gap in current technological solutions, and how could international cooperation address it?
Well, as far as some of the gaps, what we look at are timeliness of reporting and accuracy. When we don't have a lot of communication with certain entities, it's difficult to act on that and react. Once we open that dialogue and establish that communication between us, it's a lot easier for us to act on your behalf. There's a lot of websites out there. One is the ISP list. I can give you that link later. But it's basically all the internet service providers, who the points of contact are for eBay, for Facebook, for Instagram, and how to approach that. The other issues that we run into are just, you have a lot of different encrypted databases or communication systems out there that, you look at Signal, you look at WhatsApp, you look at Telegram, and these are disappearing messages. So what I try to get people to focus on and understand that, what may start out as an online solicitation and sale eventually has to turn into a physical exchange. And that's what I want people to understand. Again, I'm not trying to insult anybody's intelligence because I know everybody understands that. But the minute you start that dialogue on the dark web, start saying like, hey, I'd like to broker this deal, even if it's a fake, I'm okay with that because they're still showing us, the bad guys are still showing all of us how they do this. Even if they were going to buy a fake, that's okay. We'd like to learn how they were going to meet, how the money was going to be exchanged, whether it was going to be SWIFT, IBAN, or whatever, how they were going to package that. Because again, at the end of the day, you know, the platform is what it is. It's an online exchange, but physically you still want your product. And so at that point, a bad guy has to find a way to get this to somebody via DHL, PTT, FedEx, or something like that. That gives everybody an opportunity to see the physical exchange. And somebody's got to sign for it, and somebody's got to receive it. Please use us for intercepting packages with FedEx, with DHL, with our partners. And that way we can kind of get an idea. Again, even if it's a fake, sometimes people feel like, well, it's a fake, we're not going to do anything. We understand, but let us learn from that because we'll turn around and give you that intelligence. We're not going to classify that. I'm not interested in holding that back from you. It's not a partnership, but there's no dialogue. And that's the biggest thing. Like if this doesn't work out, okay, well, you know, it's going to happen eventually because people are greedy. And again, nobody does this out of the goodness of their heart. If they're moving it across, you know, different lines and, you know, they're breaking the law, whether it's customs fraud, devaluation, again, and this is something we see a lot, and we want to give you that positive feedback. You know, if somebody says like, oh, well, this is just broken pottery, or this is just, you know, junk and whatever, but they've insured it for $5 million, well, there's fraud and there's disparity, and it's something we can do with.
Thank you very much, Stephen. So talking about actually this vital question of partnership, let me go back to you, Zeynep. So as we know, the fight against illicit trafficking is transnational. How can your technology benefit other countries or institutions fighting against illicit trafficking? How can emerging technologies like yours be scaled and even standardized across countries and platforms and become interoperable?
Thank you very much for the question, and it was a great privilege listening all the very inspirational talks, so thank you very much for that as well. Basically, we always talk about exchanging information between each other. Maybe the question should be put if we are doing it enough. So maybe this may be the point that we should be looking at, using the digital technologies to also increase our communication and accelerate the communication. Because most of the time we always have very limited time, like customs agent waiting at the door of the plane, let's say, to confirm if the object loaded is something that he or she has to stop or not. So obviously for that we have World Customs Organization's platform, RKO, which enables direct communication, and there are many other platforms, I believe, but maybe we should be having the digital technologies to source it, but also having the will to use these digital technologies internationally and effectively. I believe that we are always a little bit more excited when we see each other and talk about that, but when it comes to doing it in practice, maybe this could be a point that we can a little bit criticize ourselves and can accelerate our efforts on that. And one last note, if I may. With the videos that I was sharing earlier during my presentation, these could be dealt very easily by adding one slide sentence in the terms of use of these digital platforms. Then once you detect such kind of things, you can just make an appeal to the platform's relative authorities, and they may pull it off very, very quickly. However, all of these efforts has been failed, I have to report very, let's say, in a sorrowful way, because people are generating income through advertisements. as well as the digital platforms themselves. So combining this with your question, I believe that we should be using these digital technologies also to detect these harmful broadcasts, and also being a little bit more willing to lose maybe a little bit of money, but saving human and cultural heritage, cultural properties, I believe. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I'd like to go back to you, Alice, to ask you, the scientific techniques you use can be incredibly powerful in verifying authenticity and provenance of cultural property. How are the findings from your work shared with relevant authorities or law enforcement? And also, can you share examples of how these tools have been successfully used in the fight against illicit trafficking or cultural property in concrete investigations? And I'd like to ask you, after Alice, the same question, Major, as well.
Thank you very much for this very interesting question. And so, as you know, crime doesn't stop at borders, and not our network. So we are very happy that we have a global network of nuclear analytical laboratories, and we are also training our colleagues with this knowledge to make them able to make authentication and provenance of art objects. Of course, there are the facilities and the knowledge are at various levels, but this is our mandate to have to the member states. So we want to believe that our techniques are very special, but we are not the only ones, of course, because authentication and provenance requires a synergistic approach. So we are one part of the puzzle. And I think that working together, as it was mentioned already several times during this and previous panel, is really vital to have a final conclusion right. On the other hand, as you are asking me about law enforcement investigations, so indeed our colleagues, our laboratories are involved in such cases. And of course, such information is confidential, so that's not to be shared publicly. And usually the request comes from the police or from the prosecutors. And when they have some specific question, the question is, what is this object? Where is it coming from? What is it made of? Whether this is original or not. But usually when other experts or the first steps, you know, the archaeological experts, they have doubts, they cannot answer the question, then they go to more sophisticated facilities as we are, because we are big facilities normally. And then our experts can help, and usually they can give the answer. Is it?
Yes,
thank
sufficient? You. Absolutely, thank you so much. Major Pikavoli, I'd like to ask you the same question, please.
Yeah, I will talk about the challenge that we are going to face during the next months and the next years, because as well as I told you, we have developed SWODs as a tool for the law enforcement agencies specialized in this specific field. We are offering it to the other countries so that they could use SWODs on their own for recovering their own stolen works of art. But at the same time, we are working on another project called SWODSnet, because we are developing the tools for making it possible to create a network between these SWODs installations around the world, not only in Europe, of course, in order to share pictures and textual information to be compared against the other database connected to the several SWODs installations. It means that also if we know that we will never have a unique database of the stolen works of art of the entire world, we will be able to check against all the databases connected to the network. And the most important thing is that we will use another source that at the moment we are not using. It means that when other colleagues of Carabinieri or other law enforcement agencies are looking for weapons, drugs during perquisitions or other activities, they could find paintings, sculptures or works of art during their activity. We want to give them the chance to take some pictures, take some videos for sending this information to SWODs using a specific application that we are going to develop. And SWODs will analyze, every single SWODs will be able to analyze nationally and then to, at an international level, sharing the same information using our central hub of this SWODSnet. So it means that we will have the chance to compare a lot and to check a lot of works of art that at the moment maybe we are missing. So we could find Italian objects abroad and objects of other countries in Italy at the same time. We are working on it. We are going to make an installation at Europol, at an innovation lab, so we are going to test it. But the most important thing is that every country should know that we are offering this tool and we are available for letting them to install it and to use it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's now open the floor to some questions. As you know, we are also online, so I see a few hands raised. This gentleman, please, with the black jacket, please introduce yourself first.
My name is Amr Al-Azam, and I have a question. Actually, it's a double question for Delphine, if I may. The first part is, why not request a verified provenance document for any item that's going to be posted before it goes online? I mean, I know you do it for other things, especially high-end, expensive materials, you know, like designer items. And then what do you do when a post is discovered by you to be illegally trafficked? Do you preserve the data, or do you simply delete it? Because if you preserve it, then you would be sharing maybe with law enforcement and reporting it. If you delete it, then it's lost forever. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. So actually, our policy requires sellers to include relevant certificate of provenance. The issue that we have is that we do not have this expertise to check, to know whether the certificate is a good one, is an authentic one. That's the thing. And this is where we need the cooperation, because this is what I was explaining when it comes to the enforcement. We can identify suspicious listing based on an analysis of keywords, etc. But we do not have that possibility to confirm the potential illegal listings, for instance. That's the thing. And that's why we do have measures in place, but we need to ensure that we will remove the listing based on the relevant reason. Because when we remove a listing, we are always sending a message to the seller to inform them about the reason of the removal. So there's obviously a reference to the policy, the artifacts policy, but there's also sometimes a reference to if the authority agrees on, we can share like contact details of the authority. That's the first thing. And there was the second question on.
Sorry.
So this is an interesting one. It will depend if law enforcement agencies are involved in a case. It happens that sometimes, and it happens with Carabinieri, by the way, where they ask us, do not remove the listing right now because we are investigating. So in order to not jeopardize the investigation, we will keep the listing online until Carabinieri or the law enforcement agency will tell us, now you can remove it. So it's a way, to not jeopardize the listing. So
but
based on use case.
Do you save the data after you remove it, or do you destroy it? That's very important for us.
Destroy the data, you mean?
When you delete the data, if you remove the data, the posting, you remove the post, do you delete the information? Do you delete the data, or do you save it?
No, we remove the listing, but obviously when it comes to sellers' data, we do have everything. And that's why we are cooperating with the law enforcement agency, because when they need to investigate and to get sellers' data, they will directly send an official request via the law enforcement portal that I was mentioning previously, so that they can get all the relevant information that we do have in our database. So that's another interesting thing for online marketplaces in the cooperation.
Thank you very much. And the lady behind him, please.
Yes, thank you for the panelists. More a question that is scientific oriented. Last year, there was a big breakthrough of a startup in Lyon called Signature SAM. They are using 3D printed tokens that are only identifiable by X-ray, that they are putting on designer items for now. This is used to not be invasive. You don't see the token, you don't see sort of the QR code. It is stored in secure encoding on blockchains, but it is used to identify the whole supply chain, the whole movements and distribution parts. Do you think this is something that is for the future when it comes to historical parts? Because now it is more on the artistic side, but do you think that that would be the future?
Thank you very much for the remark. And actually, we are running a project like this. I believe that in general it's called smart water technology. So we are kind of marking in an invisible and undestructive way our objects to make sure that we can trace it and we can make sure that the same object returns back as we send it for exhibition, for example, because this world is so old to even see such kind of cases. So that's why we are using such technologies. And it even includes an amount of data that you can learn about the object and everything. It's not like RFID, you don't trace it, you cannot locate the object with this technology as far as I'm concerned momentarily, but at least you can identify the object and match with the one that you are seeking for or you land, etc. Thank you.
Actually, Zeynep, I'd like to stay with you because, like we know, we are online at the moment and we've got a couple of questions from our online participants, and there's one for you. What is the preparation of the specialists who formulate the algorithms to find objects in action catalogs and YouTube videos, and also how many work in this important project?
In Turkey, we have specialized unit under all relevant agencies, be it Ministry of Cultural Heritage, be it Turkish Police, Gendarmerie, Customs, etc. For my department, which is under the Ministry of Culture and Tourism, we are in total 30 people working on prevention of illicit trafficking of cultural property, which is composed of 3 units. I'm giving this detail in order to let the owner of the question to have a more detailed answer. And these units are training and education, domestic affairs, and international units. So the one that I presented today is being led by International Affairs Unit. And experts working in the unit are educated in art history and several different sub-domains of archaeology, because an archaeologist also cannot know about every piece of object. The good news is we are very well connected with all museums in Turkey. We have more than 200 state museums. Most of them are being archaeology museums. So we have a variety of experts that at the moment that the system filters the information and provides us the matches, and the expert, the first expert in my department, checks the object, thinks that it's authentic and it's a correct feedback from the system, then it immediately shares by putting an @ sign. It immediately sends it to the, let's say if it's a heated object, to the Çorum Museum, which is located in the middle of Turkey, and immediately that expert replies to us, and we prepare the report and we send it to our colleagues in the relevant countries' law enforcement in order to ask for their help to stop the sale and return the object. Sometimes, as very well defined by Delphine and Commandant Rapikovoli, that sometimes we do it, we identify the object, we learn it, but we cooperate with the law enforcement in that country, and this may how it may end up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think we had a question on this side.
For giving me the floor. Thank you for this very interesting discussion. My name is Eleni Drakopoulou from the Greek delegation to UNESCO. I have a question for Delphine, actually. Given eBay's stated commitment to combating illicit trafficking, is the platform able and and willing, above all, to notify the competent authorities of the countries when it identifies sellers who systematically violated the principle you referred to earlier on? Thank you.
Thank you for your questions. So if I understand correctly, you would like to know whether we are directly contacting an authority in case we are aware of a suspicious listing. Yes, we do that, and we have like a team dedicated to cooperating with law enforcement agencies. And it may happen that because of the lack of expertise, and this is precisely the answer to your question, Anne-Marie, what is the challenge? The main challenge for us is very much the lack of expertise. That's why we are trying to find different ways to benefit from the expertise so that we can fine-tune the enforcement. But indeed, we will report directly if we have a suspicious about a listing. And I think this help in cases where there are some trends. Obviously, when we think about the Middle East conflict, we have worked a lot with all authorities over there in case there were potential listings at stake. But yeah, this is very interesting to consider the geopolitical situation to fine-tune eventually the cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We've only got a few minutes left. Let's go to this side before going back here. Sir, please.
Thank you, Jean-Marie Dignot. I would just like to ask Major Rapkavoli, you mentioned that you try to gather as much information as you can in your database. Are you also working with such stakeholders as insurance companies?
Sorry, I missed the last part.
Are you also working with insurance companies? Because for looted artifacts, they will not be insured, but if it's stolen,
okay.
There are also database. And
okay, no. We are not working with these companies. Of course, we are going to cooperate with other kind of companies, not only law enforcement agencies, but also with the, customs, ICOM, and other companies who can take care of research activities for us, but in the specific, not with them.
Thank you very much. Sir, please.
Yeah. My question again is to Delphine. I reported an object from India on eBay in 2018, and it read granite figure of Parvati, South India, Tamil Nadu, Vijayanagar, 14th, 15th century, for sale for $10,000. It's still online, and you do know that maybe the artifact is genuine or not. It's like a billboard. And this US listing has been online for the last 7 years. It doesn't need AI, it doesn't need experts. One look at the description, you know it's an antique that is 600 years old. Why does eBay have these listings still online if you have so advanced people tracking it?
So please report it to us, because we will definitely remove it, especially if it comes from an expert as you are. I don't know where it is still online, so that's why I would be interested on having the listing to understand what's going on here. Obviously, when it comes to keywords, it's always depending on how sellers are using keywords, combination of keywords. But I would be very interested on having a look at that listing. Have you tried to report it?
I reported it twice in 2018.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. So, and do you know which channel you used back then?
Every channel, online, email, Twitter. We are.
All right. So please share it with me,
Sure.
and I will.
No, my question is not for this listing. I'm asking how is it that it is escaping your catchphrase? Because this prescribes to everything that you need. It says 14th, 15th century. It gives a dynasty. It gives geographical location also of a trafficked object. And why is it not being picked up by your algorithms?
So actually, the measure that we have in place, especially if you are referring to the filters, they are created and built up based on keywords. Once we are aware of a specific issue like cultural goods from India or from another country, if it hasn't been picked up, it's maybe because since we haven't been made aware of it, we couldn't, set up the block filter. And again, having a block filter, it's a good one. But again, we need to ensure that we are using the relevant keywords. We need first to test the filter before deploying it on the platform. And that's why we cannot set up a filter without, the cooperation and the expertise from you, for instance, because thanks to your knowledge, thanks to your intelligence, we will, fine-tune the algorithm. Otherwise, we may face like some false positives, or like we would remove listings that should not be removed. So it's very much a combination of many things. But I hear you.
Thank you.
All right.
But the question is, you're making money
Thank you.
off sales.
Thank you very much, sir. We're heading towards a lunch break. I'm sure that you'll be able to carry on over the lunch, hopefully. But we just have a few minutes left to go to you, gentlemen, and take your question, please. You've raised your hand a few minutes ago. Yes.
Well, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank all the organizers, actually, for this really constructive meeting. And thanks for the speakers, actually, for the information they said. As a representative of one of the countries of origin, actually, I'm from Libya. And Libya is really struggling from this phenomena. I mean, I think we have more than 177 objects in the database of Interpol. And I know technology is important, and technology has two faces, I think, in my point of view. We can use it for welfare, or we can use it for evil, But also we get a lot of benefit, actually, from selling things online, which has allowed us to trace many pieces, even the origin countries, they don't know about them. And this is really important. And we have many examples for that, especially, for example, I would like to take the opportunity to thank Professor Michel Vincent, actually, for his work, for helping Libya to fight against illicit traffic, from rising awareness, or from tracing many Libyan objects in many auctions. My question is, because we are really still far away from using such technology, platforms, or all this technology, how the origin countries can participate to help and develop these programs and these efforts, actually, in aim to reduce the activity of illicit traffic. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for the question.
I mean, as well as you told, you have already put your own stolen works of art on the Interpol database. It means that as a law enforcement agency, we also check the Interpol database, and if during our activity we find something that owns to Libya, we of course will tell you that we have found something, and you will know it. For the future, speaking about the technology, with our tool, with SWOTs, we are going to use artificial intelligence for, we want to train the system for recognizing objects coming from archaeological sites in Italy, but not only in Italy. It means that if you give us the knowledge that we need for training the system, we will be able to recognize Libyan artifacts too, as well as for other objects coming from other countries. It is the same thing that we are going to do with the ICOM red list. In the red lists, we have the description of the features of the objects that could be exported illegally from Syria, Iraq, or other countries, in cases where they do not know of course, that they have been exported. We want to check everything it is possible whenever we look at a website. So we want to be able to recognize stolen objects, but also objects coming from countries where there is a specific crisis or something that could lead to the illegal exportation of objects and so on. So knowledge is the key. If you give us knowledge, also if you can use on your own technology, we can do it for you.
Thank you very much. And this brings us to the end of this fantastic panel. I would like to thank you all for sharing your expertise and your perspective with us this morning. Thank you to all of you as well in the room and online for your active participation. We'll reconvene here at 2:30 on the dot for the rest of our program. Bon appétit.